The biggest crime, Dutch, against us is wanting to eliminate the traces of the ancestors of the Nusantara nation. For decades it has bent and broken the history of the archipelago. Check out the explanation. Archaeology as a discipline will stop at nothing to reconstruct. Historical records throughout history haven't shown the real facts, what happened in the past. Today's new concept of historical interpretation may be outdated for tomorrow morning. What is ideally finished this year returns raw in the following year. Thus archaeological research will be an endless road. The philologists at that time really had extensive knowledge because to understand the contents of the manuscript, one had to know the letters, the language, and the knowledge it contained. After being able to read and understand the contents, they then rewrite it in the letters and language used at that time in its latest development. Philology views the differences that exist in various texts as a creation and focuses its work on these differences and views them as positive alternative. In this case, a text is seen as a new creation that reflects the active attention of its readers. The variants are seen as revealing creative activities to understand the text, interpret it, correct it, which is seen as incorrect relating to the science of language, literature, culture, religion and the political system that existed at the time. In this view, the manuscript is seen as a cultural document, as a reflection of its era. Philology in this aspect of work is called modern philology. Nusantara manuscripts such as Negarakretaagama, Pararatna, Babad Tanah Jawi, Babad Depanagara, Malay history, Tales of the Kings of Pasai, Hikayat Aceh and Hikayat Banjar, Malayan. These manuscripts, through a philological study process, can be used as historical sources after being tested based on other sources, including foreign sources as well as inscriptions. Dutch colonialism for decades has cut off the history of the archipelago with the sons and daughters of the successors of the Indonesian ancestors. Among them are also breaking the history of the names of the mountains and changing the names of the mountains scattered throughout the archipelago. This has a meaning, because if the name of the mountain is known by the next generation, it will also know the kingdoms around the mountain as well as true historical facts, because the track record of volcanic activity is valid accurate data when the incident occurred. The name of the previous mountain 1. Agung equals Tolankar 2. Bachur equals Tamperhiang 3. Bromo equals Brahma 4. Chikure equals Praatra, Srimanganti 5. Sermay equals Indrakila, 6. Diong equals Sanghyang 7. Galingum equals Kendiaga 8. Deed equals Katong Ajung 9. Koro equals Nasada 10. Kelad equals Kampit 11. Lawu equals Mahendra 12. Merbabu equals Limahan 13. Maria equals Redawu 14. Papandayan equals Danghyang 15. Underwriting equals Patra 16. Boat equals Beto round the mountains near Mount Round, East Java, used to be the original Mount Semeru. 1. Rinjani equals Samalis, Purba Rinjani 2. Salak equals Sapto Argo 3. Slamet equals Mushrooms 4. Semeru now equals Salaka 5. Cleft equals Sunging 6. Sundoro equals Sundoro, fixed. 7. Toba equals Kalasa 8. Ungaran equals Sakya 9. Wellerang equals Gora 10. Willis equals Pawinihan. The biggest crime of the Dutch colonialists against us was wanting to eliminate the traces of the advanced ancestors of the Indonesian nation. For decades it had bent and broken the history of the archipelago. The attempt to deceive the Indonesian nation was the biggest crime by the Dutch against this nation, Indonesia. The Netherlands never recognized the proclamation of independence on August 17, 1945. For the Netherlands, Indonesia only became independent on December 27, 1949, when The Hague handed over the sovereignty of the United States of Indonesia at the De Dam Palace, Amsterdam. The 5-year difference was a failed attempt by the Dutch to reclaim Indonesia, which had already proclaimed its independence. It was only in 2005 when the 60th anniversary of the proclamation, the Netherlands, morally, acknowledged the proclamation unequivocally and very floating. The arrival of the Dutch in West Sumatra as a result of the Padri War. At that time the Dutch said they would not rule and only trade. They did not need to pay taxes, but plant commodities such as coffee had to be sold to them. In the 1860s the price of coffee fell. The Dutch crisis and decided to withdraw the lasting tax. The natives rebelled. The Coming War. The Magapo War. Many people were hanged and shot. This happened in 1908. The brutality of the former Captain Cum, commander of the Depot Speciaal Troepen, DST, or the Dutch Special Forces for the period 1946-1947, it was published that the victims of the Westerling massacre reached 40,000 people. Written in one of his memoirs, he admitted to taking 463 lives. Snoek Herbrandje, a Dutch agent who pretended to convert to Islam. This is a tactic of Dutch sense when overwhelmed by the great interest of the natives to go to Mecca, therefore to mark who has gone on a pilgrimage to be given the title, Hajj, in front of his name to indicate that it has been once go Hajj. The myth of 350 years of colonialism by the Dutch is inconsequential. The clarification the VOC only had an army of 1603. If you add 350 years, the result is that we only became independent in 1953. If calculated from the Dutch East Indies government, it is 1800 plus 350 years equals Indonesia's independence in 2150. Later, the Leiden Library in the Netherlands is the most complete library about Indonesia in the world. Monash University is the second after it. There are 26,000 ancient manuscripts belonging to Indonesia transported there. If lined up, the length can reach 12 kilometers, said Leiden University Chancellor Karel Stolker. While the National Library itself only collects 10.3 thousand ancient manuscripts, not even half, then perfect for our blind. The Dutch were able to build a railway network which is still in use today, as well as two important waterways, Noordzeekanaal and de Nieuw Waterweg, built by siphoning wealth from the archipelago, wrote Cees Vasseur, a conservative Dutch historian. About Daendels, let's see. There are two different Daendels names. One Herman Willem Daendels, 36th Governor-General of the Dutch East Indies, served for 3 years, from 1808-1811. 2 A.D. Daendels, assistant resident in the Amble area of Kebumen in 1838, or 3 decades after the first H.W. Daendels above. Around the tower of Anyer Lighthouse, Tambang Iam Village, Serang Banten, there is a cultus marking the starting point for the construction of Jalan Anyer Panarukan written 0 km Anyer Panarukan 1806 AKL. Even though Daendels just landed in Anyer on January 5, 1808, 2 years before the number written on the road sign compared to the Daendels landed on Anyer, so he wasn't the one who marked and made the road. Herman Willem Daendels served from 1808 to 1811. It is impossible within 3 years to build a road from Anyer to Batavia. In the historical record, Daendels traveled for 4 days. This proves that the road from Anyer Selegan Serang Tangerang Batavia already existed before. The question: who wrote and published this historical record of lies? The name of the South Coast Road of Java is often referred to as Jalan Daendels, only because the route passes through the Amble area, which at that time was led by A.D. Daendels. The distance is only 130 kilometers, connecting the city of Bantul in Diy with Purworejo, Kebumen, and Cilacap in central Java. The South Coast Road existed long before the Dutch arrived south. Daendels Road is an ancient route that has been around since the 14th century. This is a royal tribute line in Java, which connects the kingdoms of Kediri, Majapahit, Pajang, Mataram, Cirebon, to Demak in the north. During the 14th century Javanese kingdom, many kingdoms used this coastal road to the south coast of Java as a connecting route, one of which was the Islamic Mataram kingdom in the era of Sultan Agum 1613-1645. It is recorded in the history of the Kraton Surakarta and Yogyakarta from 1769-1874 that Islamic Mataram called this area by the name of Urat Siwu, one of 8 parts of Negaragung, which are tax collection areas outside the center of the palace government. Previously, this road was called the Diponegoro Line. Prince Diponegoro and his followers had guerrillas on this road segment, precisely in the Bagalan residency area, in the Java War against the Dutch, which lasted from 1825 to 1830. Diponegoro chose this route as his guerrilla route, which was used by his ancestors during the war. Amangkurat I once used this route to escape from the pursuit of Raden Trunojoyo's troops who rebelled against the Mataram Sultanate. Prince Diponegoro's struggle against Dutch colonialism ended after, in 1827, Dutch troops led by General de Kock arrested Prince Diponegoro in Magelang on March 28, 1930, then exiled to Manado and died in Fort Rotterdam on January 8, 1955. Post-Java War, the colonial government carried out politics to erase Diponegoro's influence and image among the natives. This political goal was to weaken the spirit of Diponegoro's followers, who were still guerrilla and their position was divided. In 1838, A.D. Daendels took this opportunity to change the name of Jalan Diponegoro, changing the name of this ancient road connecting the Javanese kingdoms with his own name. So it became Jalan Daendels in southern Java. It's a lie. The Anyer Panarukan road along the 1,000 kilometers was built by the Dutchman Daendels. Actually our ancestors made it first. Before they came, this is more important. Before 78 AD there was already an advanced civilization in the archipelago. How to calculate the beginning of the Saka year in the inscription, which converts to AD, is calculated from 78 AD. That's what makes our history lost or intentionally omitted. In fact, the AKAs are the ancestors of the Indonesian archipelago, written on the basic relief of Wana Aka Fala, Borobudur, with the literate text of the word Mai Sakaya. The Kya Sakya Saka Aryan, the great people, called Shaitya by European historians, and the beginning of the calculation of the Saka year in the inscription is not dated starting in 78 AD. This is the cause of the loss of our history. In 5391 BC, the construction of a magnificent building, named Wana Haka Fala in Java, is now published as Borobudur. Then later in 5082 BC a magnificent temple was built with three main buildings at a nearby location named Pa-Ra-Natha, now published as Prambanan. Pa-Ra-Natha, Paranatha, means rearrange, according to the basic form of the sun, teaching as source of light, not worshipping the sun, with the philosophy of five main light colors or Pankawarna. Understand, this is the original teachings of the archipelago, not Hindu India. That is, the white light in the east is called Purva, the place of Hyang Iswara. The red light in the south is called Daksina, the place of Hyang Brahma. Yellow light in the west is called Pasima, the place of Hyang Mahadev. The black light in the north is called the north, the place of Hyang Vishnu. All colors of light in the center is called Madhya, the place, Hyang Shiva, which fuses or unites, which is then misinterpreted as the god of destroyer. This colonialist version of the publication is the same as in India. The literal text of the word Dharma is recorded on the basic relief of Borobudur with the text of the words Kusaladharmavahana and Vinayadharmasiddhakaya, which means Borobudur, not based on one of the teachings born in India, but based on the birth of three new teachings based on Dharma in India. True back history of Indonesia exploration and research by Santosava. Revisionist History. WhatsApp 081321329787.